Today, I really want to share, just really want to share from my heart. And more like a father. I know that there are many of you here that are older than me. Well, not many, a few maybe. But I really want to talk as a father. And the reason that I want to do that is I'm really concerned about folks that start this walk with Christ and don't finish well. I happened to be on Facebook yesterday, and one of my old friends from back in the day shared a picture of me at a camp with about 5 other guys, and we were goofing off. And I actually remember that particular picture and the circumstances that it was taken. And when I looked at the picture, at first I didn't recognize where I was in the picture. And then it dawned on me. I went, oh my gosh, that's me next to Chet Moss and a few of the other guys, Barry and a couple of my really good friends in ministry. That's me back in the day. And which led me to start thinking out, how many years has it been since that day? And where am I now in my walk in the Lord? Now, here's where I want to talk to you all, because there's something that separates the men from the boys. There's something that separates the successful from the unsuccessful. There's something that separates the warrior, the one that will get down and fight, from the guy that's going to just stand on the sidelines and watch. And when I think about it, the question that comes to mind is, what is that key? What is it that does that? What is it that makes the man from the boy? What is the difference? What's the key? Is it intelligence? Is it a natural ability? Is it human strength? Is that what it is? What is it that you find common in all great men of God, and that you will not find in those that start, stop, quit, go the other way, fall out, and you don't see it in them? And I've come to realize that it's one thing, and it's only one thing. It's a very simple thing. And I'm going to take you to Psalms chapter 84, and we're going to look at verse 5 through 8 in the Passion Bible. So we do not have that in our SKU, but I believe we've written it out for you on our slides, and I'm going to read it from my tablet. One thing, only one thing. And if you can get this one thing today, your life will never ever be the same. You will be steady as a rock. You will grow in strength. You will never quit. You will never give up. And you will grow into all that God wants you to be. But if you do not get this one thing today, I promise you that will never happen. Somewhere along the line, something is going to come into your life, and it's going to hit you hard enough, strong enough. It's going to repeat itself over and over to where you grow weary and you quit. One thing. So Psalms chapter 84, we're going to start at verse 5. And the writer here in this psalm, he starts out by saying, how enriched are they who find their strength in the Lord. Now, the Bible says that is the battle won by the chariot and the horseman and the warrior. And it goes on to say, no, the battle is not won by the strength of man or by the strength of the army, but the battle is won by the Lord. So when you find yourself in a place where you realize in life you realize that there is no strength outside of the Lord. There is no power outside of the Lord. There is nothing that you can do in your own willpower, in your own fortitude, in your own intellect that will cause you to walk through this life successfully. There is absolutely nothing that you can do, because many before you have tried. There will be many coming up after you that will try. And there are people on your left and people on your right that have tried, and they have failed. In fact, possibly you're here today and you can say, I've tried a time or two and I've failed. But those that begin to place their trust in the Lord, and they find their strength in Him. It's interesting how the psalmist is saying this, because that word enrich is to add to, it's to embellish, it's to make right and to make perfect. That's what that word enriched in the New King James and the NIV, it says, well, they're happy. Because when you're enriched and you're made right and you're empowered, there's a sense of happiness, because you know, I can do this. I can actually do this. I can actually overcome this. I actually have the power to do it, because it's not in my own strength. It's in the strength of the Lord, and I'm placing my strength in Him, and that's where I get my fortitude and my ability and my strength. And as long as my strength is in Him, and I'm being enriched, and I'm being made whole, and I'm being strengthened from within, there is absolutely nothing that can conquer me. There is nothing that can keep me from the goal that He has set before me. There is nothing that can keep me from the success that He's promised me. There is absolutely nothing, because I'm not relying on you or the other person. I'm not relying on my paycheck. I'm not relying on my family. I'm relying on the Lord. My strength is in Him, and that's where I get my strength. And when my strength is in Him, be careful, because I am infallible. Go through 1st, 2nd Kings and Chronicles, and you'll find that David and some after him, when they went to war, at many times they knew that they were outnumbered and they were outgunned by nations greater than them, armies that made them look like ants compared to the opposing nation's army. And at times like that, you'll find David reverting back and going, God, my strength is in you. Because without you, we cannot fight the battle. Without you, we will certainly lose. In fact, my strength is so much in you, and I'm so dependent upon you. I'm not even going to go out and fight. I'm going to go out and just worship you and see what you will do. Battle after battle after battle. They didn't even lift a hand to fight. They never drew a sword. God went out. Because when you put your strength in God and you depend on Him, look out. Because He's going to show forth, and He's coming out, and He's going to fight on your behalf, because you put your faith and your strength in Him. He will never let you down. And then verse 5 goes on to say, within their hearts are the highways of holiness. Within their hearts are the highways of holiness. Actually, if you look at a different translation, God's Word's translation says, their heart is on the road that leads to you. Their heart is on the road that leads to you. Why? Because instead of looking this way, and instead of wanting to go that way, or maybe go that way because I don't know what to do and I'm scared, or I might want to run over there because that looks like it might be a little better. No, my strength is in you, and as a result, my heart becomes a highway to you. I'm steadfast. I'm moving down that highway in my relationship to God. Now, we could stop here and all would be good, right? We could say, amen, let's go home, let's have lunch, and all is good. Except it gets a little bit more interesting because the writer here is being real. He's telling it the way it really is. And in verse 6, he says in verse 6, even when their paths wind through the dark valley, the path of tears. Whoa, wait a minute. Wait. If I find my strength in the Lord, then what are we saying in verse 6? Because the writer here says, even when their paths through the dark valley of fears, even when that happens. I have walked this walk long enough to tell you with all certainty that if you think this is a cakewalk, walking from blessing to blessing to blessing, without ever experiencing opposition or disappointments, you are sadly mistaken. Because I'm also here to tell you that the more that you put your strength in the Lord, the more opposition there will be. Because there is a live and well enemy that would like to test just how much strength you get from God. Well, let's just put it to the test. It's easy to talk about. Let's just see if y'all have that much strength. Let me just dial up some opposition. Let me just dial up some problems in your life. Let me just cause some stuff to go wrong, and let's see what you do with that. And the writer here, it's almost as though he's becoming poetic because he says, notice the descriptiveness of the psalm. He says, even though that I wind through, he just got done talking about a highway. How many of you know that highways are easy to drive because you can see ahead, you go one direction, there's not a lot of turns, you put it on cruise control and you just kind of cruise through it, right? But he said, no, I come to places in my life where I wind through. I can't navigate. Have you ever been in a time in life where you just can't navigate through it? You don't know what. I'm at that place in life. I can't navigate right now. The road has gotten so windy, I don't know if there's a left bend or a right bend up ahead. I'm afraid. I'm slowing down a bit. I'm driving cautiously because I don't want to go over a cliff. I'm at a time where if I make the wrong decision, I can pay for it dearly. So I'm being very careful. I'm off the highway. Somehow I took the exit off the highway, and I'm on this windy road going through life that's very trying because it gets you a little bit tense and the adrenaline pumps because all of a sudden you're doing 30 and the sign says take this curve at 5. And oh my God, I got to slow down. And then he goes on to say, he says, and you're in a dark valley. Wait a minute. My strength comes from God. But all of a sudden, I'm in this dark valley. I'm in a dark place right now. How many of you have ever been there? All of a sudden, you're in a dark place. There is no light. You know, dark places are very depressing. I'm not a sun guy. I can't be because of my pigmentation. I just fry up like a crisp. I can't do sun. I don't really like sun, to be honest with you. I don't like hot weather. I'm a shady, cool guy. But you put me in a house with all the blinds drawn for a length of time, and I find that I get depressed because there's no light. You might be here today, and you might be depressed because you feel that you're in a dark place. The guy next to you is worshiping, getting all excited, and you're looking at him going, I don't know what you're excited about. I'm in a dark place. I'm not really excited. Well, I'll try to worship God. I'll try to get a little bit excited, but the truth be told, deep down inside, you're not really excited because you're in a dark place. And you know you're in a dark place. You meet and greet, and you fake it. You fake a smile. You do the Christianese. How's it going? Oh, I'm just blessed in God. But when you sat down in your chair, you knew you weren't. You said, heck no, that was a big fat lie. I'm not blessed in God. I'm in a dark place right now. And he goes on to say, he said, and you might have some tears. You might have some tears. There may be some tears with all of that. You might be in the valley of tears. He's being poetic again. Though I walk through the valley, speaking of a dark place, a dismal place, a place where I'm not on the mountain heights anymore, and I'm crying through it. I don't care what your emotional makeup is or not, but I will tell you, you have not lived life if you haven't been through some stuff that have made you cry. Either that or you're absolutely emotionally dead. But you can go through some stuff where it tears you up enough that you're going to shed a tear or two. And you're going to wonder, can I ever get through this? Will I ever make it through this valley, this windy road, this dark place of no blessing, and I'm shedding tears? Can I make it through this? I'm drawing my strength from the Lord, but I'm still in the valley. Here's the difference between the men and the boys. This one thing is the difference between the men and the boys. Because the psalmist here goes on to say, they dig deep. They dig deep to find the pleasant pool where others find only pain. They dig deep. It's at this place. It's in this situation, in these circumstances. It's at this place that you either cut and run. You either check out. You either go find a bottle and numb yourself. It's at this place that decides the men from the boys. Because the boys will always look for a way of escape. The boys will always cut and run. The boys will never stand their ground. But it's the men and it's the warriors, it's the ones that are fighters that say, no, my strength comes from the Lord, and I don't feel very strong right now. In fact, I feel pretty doggone weak. I'm crying over it. That's how weak I feel. I'm shedding a tear. There's no strength in that. But you know what I'm going to do now? You know what I'm going to do? Because I'm a man and I'm a warrior and I stand for what I believe and God is my strength. You know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to dig a little deep. And I'm going to find, as I dig deep, I'm going to find a pleasant pool that God has for me. Where others find pain, I dig deep. Where other people wallow in their misery, or they just want to blame other people for their misery. Where other people go there, not me, I don't go there. No, I'm going to dig deep. Because in this, there is a pool. There is a pleasant pool that God is providing. And I'm going to dig deep until I find it. What does that look like? Some of you dug a little deeper today because you chose to be here. And I'm going to give you something to work with. See, you had a choice this morning. You could have said, I don't feel so hot today, and I don't feel all that happy, and I'm just going to check out today. I'm going to cut and run. Sometimes digging deep means, you know what, God, I've got to have some alone time with you. Because if my strength is coming from you and I'm not feeling very strong right now, I've got to stop the music for a minute and I've got to spend some time and I've got to dig a little deeper because somewhere there's a pleasant pool and I'm going to dig until I find it. I'm going to sit here in the quietness, and I'm going to open my Bible, and I'm going to start looking for a pleasant pool, because it's here someplace, somewhere you're going to speak to me. I'm going to take some time, and I'm going to turn off the radio. Yeah, even the Christian music, sometimes I want to turn that off too. In fact, my relationship with you is not through the radio and the Christian music. I'm going to shut it all down. And I'm going to sit here in your presence. I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to pour my heart out to you. And I'm going to ask you to speak back to me and help me to find the pleasant pool. And if I don't, I want to dig a little deeper and spend a little more time and dig a little deeper. I'm going to keep digging until I find it. Let me speak to some of you that are new in Christ. Y'all don't have to dig deep. Sometimes you just scratch the surface. Sometimes we used to do this. God, I'm depressed. Speak to me. Boom! He did! I've got your back. I'm blessing you. You're not the tail. Oh my God, he just spoke to me. That's because your problems are pretty doggone small, but as you walk this walk of ways and you mature and you find that the enemy, the level of opposition is at the level of your maturity, right? If I want to take out your little child, I don't need anything but go boom. They're gone. But if I want to take out Pastor LT, I better go get some equipment, a baseball bat and a shovel and a couple other things like that, because the opposition is equal to his maturity. So the more mature you become in Christ, and the more you walk this walk out, and you've gotten the strength of the Lord, the greater the opposition. Don't kid yourself. And sometimes you have to dig a little deeper than just eeny, meeny, miny. He went out and hanged himself. That don't work. Let me find another one. You go do likewise. So much for that. Sometimes you actually got to start reading it and dig a little deeper and a little deeper and a little deeper till you hit the pool. Till you hit the pool. And then he said he gives them a brook of blessing filled from the rain of an outpouring. You dig, God will always provide the brook of blessing. Some of the greatest blessings, some of the greatest truths that have ever been birthed in my heart is when I've gone through it the worst. Let me tell you, those are truths that you will never forget in life, because they were given to you at a moment of absolute desperation. Sometimes it's at those times and those places that those truths are life-changing for you and take you to a whole new level and a whole new realm. But you don't get the brook until you dig. Brooks of blessing only come through digging. They only come through digging. They just don't appear. You got to dig for them. You know, the greatest story, and I want to read this story real quick, is found in 1 Samuel chapter 30. This is my go-to story in the Bible. It's probably the absolute greatest, in my mind, of any other story in the Bible. David is now running with a band of men, about 600 men, and he's still running from Saul. Now, I'm not going to recap the whole history here, but Samuel has prophesied that David would be king. Saul hears about it. David has killed Goliath. You remember that story. Saul gets jealous. He is the presiding king, and he gets jealous because he sees that this man went out and killed Goliath, and now they're singing songs that Saul's killed his thousands and David his 10,000s, and they made him better. And he knows that God has picked him. So he decides that he's going to kill David. So he is now hunted for David. Some people say up to 3 years at this point. I don't know if that's true or not. But some scholars say that David was on the run for 3. Some actually say he's on the run longer. But I understand, I can believe that whatever the length of time is, David's getting pretty doggone discouraged. I've done nothing. I've done nothing against the man. God gives me a word, and thank you, God. God gives me a word, and now he wants to kill me because of that word. Maybe, God, you shouldn't have gave me that word. Maybe you should have kept it, because now I'm running for my life, and I've been running for my life for a while. So anyway, David, verse 1, David and his men reached Ziklag. They had left to do a battle. They came back to the town that they occupied. David and his men reached Ziklag on the 3rd day. Now the Amalekites had raided the Negev and Ziklag. The Amalekites were another opposing enemy. They raided David's hometown where he and his men occupied. They raided it. And they had attacked Ziklag, and they burned it, and they had taken captive the women and all who were in it, both young and old, and they killed none of them, but carried them off as they went on their way. So are you getting the picture? David's coming back, 3-day journey. When he gets back, he sees his whole town is burned down, and all of the people in it, their wives and their children, have been taken captive by this raiding party. And when David and his men came to Ziklag, they found it destroyed by fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters taken captives. So David and his men wept. Now remember, these are warriors. These are fighting men. David and his men wept aloud until they had no strength left to weep. I don't know that I've ever wept quite like that, to where there's no more strength to even cry. David's 2 wives had been captured. David was greatly distressed because the men were talking about stoning him. Each one was bitter in spirit because of his sons and daughters. Whoa. I don't know if that resonates with you. They get back. The town is burned down. Their families are gone. They're weeping until they have no more strength. That's pretty bad, huh? That's really bad. To make matters worse, David's army now begins to talk about stoning him because of what happened, because after all, he is the leader. So they are placing blame on him. 600 men have lost their families, are now placing the blame on him, and they're talking about stoning him. I don't know about you, but I don't know that you can go any lower than that. Can you imagine anything in life bringing you quite to that level? But here's what happens. David, in his moment of anguish, he digs deep. And it says, but David found strength in the Lord his God. There was nobody to turn to at that moment. They all want to stone him. Who's he going to run to for comfort? And David stops the motion. And the text here says, and David found strength in the Lord. He found strength in the Lord. He dug deep, and he found the pool. The text doesn't tell us how he did it, but somehow, some way, he stopped in his anguish, and he dug deep, and he found the pool. And when he received strength in the Lord, the next verse goes on to say that he calls for the priest, and he calls for an ephod, and he asks God, should I pursue them, and will I win, and will I take them? And the answer comes back, yes, you pursue, you will take them, and you will conquer. I will fight your battle. Another nation has taken all the families. They're gone. They've just traveled 3 days. They're exhausted. They have now cried their eyes out. There is no strength left in them. And David says, I've dug deep. I found the pool. I'm being refreshed while others feel pain. I'm being refreshed. I'm feeling my strength in God. Now, let me ask you, God, should I go get them? Should I pursue them? And if I do, will I be successful? And the answer comes back, you go get them. You will be very successful. And he does. And he brings back his family. Complete victory. Complete victory. Can I tell you that would have never happened? The story would have ended right there with his death, because they would have stoned him. What got him through at the darkest moment in his life? He found his strength in the Lord. He dug deep, and he found the pool of blessing. When you do that, God will never let you down. God will not only strengthen you, He will not only strengthen you, as it says, with the brook of blessing, but then he will also go fight your battle, as he did with David. But David was at a deciding moment in his life. I dig deep now or I die, because my life depends on how deep I dig. I don't know about you, but I've come to those places in life. I either dig deep and find the pool of blessing, or I die right here, because this is going to take me out. This is going to ruin me. This is going to do me in. This is going to finish me. I dig deep right now, find the pool of blessing, or I die. Notice what verse 7 says. Verse 7 says, they grow stronger and stronger with each step forward. They grow stronger and stronger with each step forward. They don't stop. They don't go back. They don't retreat. They grow stronger and stronger with each step forward. So let me break it down this way. You're going through it. Things are happening. It's out of control. Life right now is a big mess. That might be because you did something to screw it up a little bit. I don't know. Or it might be that other people did something to screw your life. It might be that stuff happens. But whatever the case, you're going through it. And you have to decide, am I gonna cut and run? Am I going to quit? Or am I going to dig deep, and am I going to find the pool? And when I find the pool, I'm depending on the brook of blessing, that God is going to begin to speak freshness into my life. See, because a brook is always running. It's fresh water. It's not a pond. It's freshness. And when I dig deep and I find the pool, then a brook comes up, and a brook begins to flow. And it brings freshness to me. Now, it's at that moment that freshness is coming in. You've got another choice to make. You see, at some point, you got to decide, I found the pool of blessing, and freshness is coming in my life. What do I do now? I think I'm going to stay right here because this feels really good. No, you got to make a choice. I'm going to get back up, and I'm going to start taking steps forward. I'm going to start marching towards what God's called me to do. I'm going to keep marching to my dream. It doesn't matter what the setback was. The setback was temporary. Oh, no, 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 no. I've got the brook flowing now. I got my strength in the Lord. I'm going to take some steps now. But listen, they grew stronger. They grew stronger with each step. So I've got the brook, and I'm feeling okay. I've got my trust in the Lord. So I'm not sure I can do this. I'm still not sure. I feel the strength, but I got to step out. So I take one step. Well, that's okay. I feel a little stronger now. So I think I'm going to take a second step. Oh, man, I'm feeling some strength now. Well, I'm going to take a third step and a fourth step and a fifth step. Man, I'm feeling it now. I've got it going. I'm just going to start running. I'm going to get over here and I'm going to get over there because now I've got the strength back. God will prepare a way, but He only strengthens you when you begin to take the step. See, some are dealing with a setback today. You were denied the job. So you get up. You find that place in God where God is speaking blessing into your life and the strength of the Lord. And then you decide, I'm going to take a step. I'm going to go out again and again and again and again. And I'm going to keep going out till God opens the right door for me. And He provides. I'm going to keep on keeping on. Nothing is going to stop me. You may have had somebody walk out on you and leave your life. And, oh, man, that was a setback. That got me bad. But you know what? I'm going to dig deep. I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm not going to go get medicated. I'm going to medicate myself on God. I'm going to dig deep and I'm going to find the pool. And when the brook starts flowing, I'm going to get up and I'm going to take a step out and I'm going to start taking steps again. And I'll be strengthened with every step I take. And the verse ends up, and the God of all gods will appear before them in Zion. That's a poetic way of saying, God, as you're taking steps, God will appear to you. Zion was considered the holy place of God. God will appear to you as you take steps. But here's where I want to talk to you from my heart. I watch people come and go all the time. It grieves me when they go because I know they didn't have to. I watch people serve God with all their might and all their heart. A year later, run into them and they're not serving God at all. They have absolutely no interest. I told you about the picture in Facebook. What grieves me most about that picture, and there were a couple of other pictures. We were at a big retreat, and there were some other pictures. And then I looked around them. All of those guys that were in that picture were all called into ministry. And some went off to birth churches. Guy over to my right, Chet Moss, went to Tracy. Larry Winkleman went to Arizona, Prescott, Arizona. Not a one of them, not a one, is in ministry today. Not a one, including our senior pastor. Not a one. Now, some have stayed plugged into God. Some had walked away from God because the hurt was too great. I'm the only one. I'm the only one. And I thought, well, what made me better? I'm not smarter than them. I'm not stronger than them. There's some very talented guys in that picture. Very gifted guys. What made me any different? Only one thing. My strength was in the Lord. And when it got bad, I found the only answer was to dig deep. Find the pool and let the brook flow. And when the brook flows, get back up and take another step, and then another step, and another step, and another step. And the more steps you take, the stronger you get. That's what makes the man from the boy. You have to have a made-up mind in this walk. At one point, it was so bad for Jesus and the disciples, the multitudes left. Man, they ran. Oh, they were out of here. We're gone. And he was left with the 12. And he said to the 12, he said these words. He said, will you leave me also? Go ahead. You know, here's the thing. You want to leave, God never stops you. That's a sad truth. We always want to think that God ankle dives you and change you to a chair. No, you want to leave, God never stops you because he never violates your will. In fact, Jesus said to the disciples, if you want to leave, go ahead. Their response was classic. Where would we go? There is no other person that holds the words of truth. Where would we go? There is no plan B. Where would we go? I got to dig deep. I've got to find the pool. I've got to get the brook. I've got to get up and take another step, because where else would I go? I don't have anywhere else to go. I might as well just off myself at that point. Where else am I going to go? You've got to be my strength. You're all I got. There isn't an alternative. There's no plan B here. You're it. Or take me home. One of the two. You either come through or take me out of this, because you're it. You've got to have a made-up mind if you're going to make it in this walk.